Hello, everybody. My name is meteorologist Hutch Johnson. We have a blizzard that is going to be taking hold in the nation's northern plains and winter storm conditions, with already upwards of 1 foot of snow on the ground in portions of Minnesota. Another foot is possible. That 1 to 2 foot snowfall forecast is not out of the question for the totals of a 3-day event in the northern plains. For today, strong tornadoes will be possible in the southern plains. Hello, I'm meteorologist Hutch Johnson. We're going to get to the details on the widespread and impactful huge storm system that impacts us from Canada straight down into the Gulf Coast states. We'll have the latest in your forecast. If you're joining me right now, I sure appreciate it. Hi, Lisa. It's great to have you on board. Please drop a note. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me know if you have any questions at all. I appreciate you sharing the good word that Hutch is doing weather here. Let's get right to it. First, let's start with a look at that national radar. What the heck is going on? Here's what the heck is going on. Look at the blue. That's the snow, northern plains. Now, the heaviest of the snow, kind of a little bit of a break in portions of Minnesota right now, but it's on its way as the low pressure center is now starting to slide north. Meanwhile, you can see the cold air with the snow showers wrapping into places like Nebraska and Colorado and the panhandles of Oklahoma and Texas. There's some flakes moseying, y'all, and it's making its way down. Now we're going to have a north wind, and that's going to bring cool air. It's mingling with this humid air, and a severe weather outbreak has been talked about right here on Hutch's Weather. And today there is a legitimate risk of some strong tornadoes in the deep south. So that's a look at the setup. Now let's do this. We're going to take a look at what I'm calling your tornado tracker. And we're going to do that by taking a look at a high resolution model. And we're going to show you the deep south, and we're going to show you when and where the storm risk is going to be the greatest. Nancy, hi. Tammy, good to see you on board as well. Thanks so very much for joining. Love the comments, love the likes. All right, let's take a look at this forecast model. I'll go ahead and sneak this down to one that allows me to go out in time just a little bit farther as we take a peek at what we're expecting in your forecast. Now, what we're going to start with is a look at that future radar to show you a look at when the storms fire and where. The afternoon is when things are expected to get going, and the risk is greatest as we look into Texas, okay, and Louisiana. So see the storms lighting up all the way from, well, we're talking Missouri, Springfield, St. Louis, all the way south into the Gulf Coast states. But it's this southern flank here where that risk is going to be the greatest. Let me turn on the timing so you can see that, shall I? Okay, sorry about that. Now, in the afternoon, the storms will be firing in Texas. But when? Let's go backwards just a little bit here. We'll see the development of storms not far from Dallas. This morning stuff is showers, but the intensification of the storms and when we expect the peak of the strong to severe weather will be in the early to mid-afternoon. It gets going in the Gulf Coast states and in central Missouri. Notice this long straight line of storms. Those solid wall of storms there typically don't produce the greatest of tornado risk. But where we see this isolated nature, where these storms start firing up in the deep south, that's where that risk will be a little greater. I'll show you the tornado tracker in more detail. It moves into Pine Bluff area of central Arkansas all the way up into places not far from Mountain Home. Yeah, that's Mountain Home right up there. West Plains, Springfield, you'll be seeing these strong storms pound through. They make their way into the Mississippi Delta, including the Memphis area and toward Jackson. And this could be very strong and a very windy event. Notice this widespread heavy rain up towards St. Louis. That's what we're expecting up there. Very heavy rain. And we will see sharp thunderstorms with hail, severe winds, and a tornado risk. All modes of severe weather, including flash flooding, working through the deep south. Now, this will continue tonight. As you see, 9 o'clock, nocturnal tornadoes continue into the late night hours, Tuscaloosa on into Huntsville. The storm becomes a little more linear as it lines up with multiple storms. So again, the early onset, a great risk of tornadoes. We could see some nocturnal tornadoes, and then more strong storms will develop tomorrow as we go through the day on Tuesday. But look at this. Look at this. Way up north, there's a risk, and way down south, there's a risk as this huge storm system impacts wall to wall from Canada straight down into the Gulf Coast. Things a little quieter out to the west with hit and miss showers. That's the next 24 hours. Now, zooming back into this risk, I want to show you the risk that is showing up here with regards to spin in the atmosphere. There are the parameters, ingredients we need for tornadoes. And we can track that with specific models. And I'm going to show you a tornado parameter here where we have things like spin in the atmosphere combined with lift in the atmosphere. Those things are needed to create tornadoes. And you see the highlights in the time of the day here around 2 p.m. And I will go ahead and go through this a little slower so you can see where it peaks. And you see the brighter colors there showing up in central Louisiana as we head between the afternoon hours of around 1:30 or 2 o'clock right into the early evening hours, and it continues into the nighttime hours right in Mississippi and the Mississippi Delta. Then it wanes just a bit as the storms become a little bit more linear. For tomorrow, that model goes through and it does not show as many tornado impacts going through the morning hours tomorrow, but afternoon storms once again are expected to be possible. So again, mid-afternoon storms, there is a risk of severe weather. The Storm Prediction Center has a risk of severe weather down in the deep south. I'm going to pop that up here. Here you go. This is a look at what their concerns are. You can see the area highlighted, and it's pretty close to central Louisiana into Jackson, Mississippi. This is an enhanced risk. A few strong tornadoes will be possible. And just to highlight what the Storm Center is saying, the Storm Prediction Center says the tornado risk today is significant. Okay, so there's a significant risk. A population of 1.5 million people will be in the path of these. Jackson, Mississippi, Monroe, Louisiana, Alexandria, Louisiana, Meridian, Mississippi, and Vicksburg. There will be a 10% risk of tornadoes. That means 10% of the area around any point near Jackson, Monroe, Alexandria, Meridian, these same areas. There's a 10% risk of seeing a tornado within 30 miles of these places. There's significant risk of tornadoes today in the deep south is the bottom line. How about wind? That's the second threat. Look at this. That's a huge 30% risk area in these same areas. As it becomes linear and moves off into the overnight hours, that will become the main risk as the storms move into parts of central and eastern Mississippi, east of Jackson. And we continue to see risks of hail as well, where there'll be about a 5% risk area. So again, to highlight the tornado risk area, exactly where it is on the map, you can see here, this hatched area. Significant severe weather, Alexandria, Louisiana, north of Baton Rouge, Natchez, all the way up to Monroe, and out towards Jackson, Mississippi, and on towards Meridian, Mississippi as well. That's the greatest risk. There is still a very large risk of tornadic activity from Greenville south to Baton Rouge and into Slidell and New Orleans. Keep that in mind. That is a look at the storm tracker for severe weather. Let's turn our attention now to tracking some snow, shall we? Yep, we're going to do it. We're going to stay on this same model, but we're going to turn it over and take a look at the snowfall amounts. Now, I do want to say, with winter forecasting, snowfall amounts depend greatly on the temperature of the atmosphere, and it's a difficult forecast. And if you've watched me in the Northern Plains, you know there have been some challenges with exactly who is and who is not going to see the risk for heavy snow. For instance, Fargo, the models leading up to this storm said Fargo was going to get whacked. We have had about 3 inches of snow in Fargo, but the main event is on its way. The core or the center of the low is smack dab right on Hutch's fist, and it's going to go northward, and it's going to last another day to day and a half. And we do have snow reports as we'll go over here momentarily. Buddy, good to see you. What's up? Hope you're having a great day. William joining from Warren, Minnesota and Tucson, Arizona. Wow, 2 places at once. That's amazing. Oh, I got to tell you, widely different weather in those 2 locations as well. This is the snow tracker. Now, what you're going to see is this system, the low pressure center, as it moves northward throughout the next 12 hours, this is between now and 7 p.m. tonight, is going to light it up. All the colors that you see here in the northern plains, those are going to be blizzard-like conditions coming with winds gusting over 30 and 40 miles per hour. Eastern South Dakota, northern and central Nebraska, all the way into northern Minnesota. And that's just by 4 p.m. tonight. And the low is still cranking and cooking. And check this nonsense out. It just continues to beat the drum all the way in to the hour. Look at this. I mean, it just continues to produce snow all the way into Wednesday in eastern Minnesota. So some of these snowfall totals that you're going to see here that I pop up are going to make you kind of feel a little nasty in the back of your throat. It doesn't mean we're going to see exactly this much snow because the temperature ranges are quite large out here, but we will have some areas that see even more snow than what you're seeing here. So this carries us out all the way into the 25th. That gets us into Tuesday night, and the snow continues in eastern Minnesota into Wednesday. 6 inches to a foot of snow can be expected from central Minnesota, straight down south. Minneapolis to Duluth is going to have pockets of even heavier snow amounts. As we take a look off in eastern South Dakota, the snow amounts, well, while they don't look that impressive there, we can take a look at one other forecast model with regards to this snowfall system and show you that essentially there'll be some areas that get whacked with over a foot of snow. Here we go as we go through. Now, it doesn't mean we'll see exactly 2 to 3 feet in southwestern Minnesota, but a solid foot to 2 feet of snow is still possible in a couple of areas in southern Minnesota. Central Minnesota, 8 inches to a foot, certainly not out of the question. So look at this, getting into Nebraska and Sioux Falls and Point South. Again, it's another day and a half of snow. So I know we've been advertising huge snowfall amounts, but it's over a 3-day span. It started Sunday. It's continuing today, particularly in the late part of the day. It will last Tuesday, and for some, it will slip into Wednesday in northern and eastern parts of Minnesota. That's a look at your snow tracker there. I'll give you the hour-by-hour forecast of the future radar here real quickly with the winter impact on the precip type, so you can see that as we advance through time here, and I'll let this load up, the snow will expand its way into the region once again. Here, let me pop this up and put the time up for you. So, snow begins to return to the northern plains, and look at the line of snow just persist all the way through tonight and overnight, and then it blossoms as we go into your Tuesday morning, and it lasts into Wednesday before it finally exits. So again, some will see upwards of a foot of snow from northern parts of Nebraska through eastern South Dakota and central Minnesota. Fargo sits right on the edge. I'm expecting a 1/2 inch to maybe 2 or 3 inches of additional snow here. Just off to the south and east toward the Twin Cities and Duluth, it looks like no fun at all. Straight south towards Sioux Falls. Sioux Falls, you may see more rain than snow, but it looks very wintry as well. That's your snow tracker. Now check this out. As we look across the nation, winter weather has exited the Northeast. Yesterday you heard from me and I told you, yep, we have power outages across a great portion of the Northeast. Over 200,000 people at times were without power yesterday from a storm system exiting there. So just a look at the state outages, we can show you that we still have power outage problems in Maine, New York, New Hampshire. Getting into the central and southern plains, Texas has some power outage issues with about 16,000 customers reported out. It's tracking 13.5 million people. So it's a small number of people that are without power right now. And now we'll keep our eyes on what's going on in the central states. Notice that in California, we have some power outage concerns there as well, with about 9,000 people without power at this time. So there is a risk for some power outages, delays, and cancellations to air travel, particularly Minnesota's airports and down in towards the Sioux Falls area. Parts of northern Nebraska could see some impacts as well. And of course, the deep south. Hey, thanks for watching, Kim. Good to have you on board as well. I sure appreciate that. That's a look at the power outages presently across the nation. Look at New York State and another 11,000 without power for you folks in the state of the city of the Big Apple. All right, good to have you on board, Kim. Thanks for joining. Now, as we wrap up, let's take a look at some national snow reports. These are ridiculous. Here we go. As we load up the snow reports tracker, we have many in our neck of the woods here in the northern plains that have added up to significant snow in central Minnesota. What you're looking at here, these dots are the location of the report. We go in. Let's start west and go east. Let's start in the Reno area. These were the big winners. The dark red dots were reports of over 25 inches of snow from Bear Valley, California, through the Donner Peak area where we had 28 inches, Twin Bridges at 30 inches. And again, that Truckee area, the Donner Peak area, Truckee Pass, picking up nearly 30 inches of flaky goodness. Now, as we look off into the Central Rockies here, Colorado and northern Arizona picking up some significant snowfall as well. well. Check out Arizona here near Flagstaff. So the Arizona Snow Bowl picking up 13 inches of snow there. We did get some healthy snow in northern New Mexico as well. If I slide over some of these reports, 8 inches there. Now, mountains of Colorado. Check it out. The Denver area picking up more snow. As you look out towards Golden, they had upwards of 10 inches there. As you climb up the foothills of the eastern plains of the Rockies from Denver, where the snow amounts were a little lower, I'll hover over a couple. Around 5 inches in Hutch's hometown, or graduation high school town of Aurora, Colorado. Aurora Central High School. Get up into the mountains, that ramps up to nearly a foot in Golden, 10 inches or so. And now the ski resorts out there picking up some good snow from this. From Silver Plume, 11 inches. Jamestown, Colorado, 11 inches. We have Skyway, Colorado, 12 and a half inches. And Crestone picking up 12 and a half inches. Now, the Northern Plains. The storm system that's been lasting the last couple of days did dump in central Nebraska 8 inches of snow, and there's much more on the way. Here's a look at South Dakota. The Rapid City area only picking up 2 to 5 inches of snow, but just north of town as we get up towards Spearfish, it was 7 or 8 inches of snow, and a foot in Dupree, South Dakota. A foot. Look at the Montana border here. Baker, Montana, picking up, well, about 10 inches of snow. Then as we sneak into central Montana, 8 inches for Edwards. How about way up northern portions of North Dakota as the storm went through there? 6 inches. You're done for snow in western North Dakota from this system. Done in Golden Valley, 8 inches there. But as we sneak off to the east, this is where we've got round 1. Central Minnesota and northern Wisconsin, big winters. A foot of snow in a dry area of northern parts of Wisconsin, over a foot in the areas here that you see with these orange dots, including Antigo, Wisconsin, a foot of snow exactly. Duluth picking up huge amounts of snow with all the hills there in the Iron Range. No fun driving, and there's much more in store for Duluth, between Duluth and Minneapolis. Look at the Twin Cities. Hugo, 9 inches. St. Cloud, 8.5 inches. This I-94 corridor, tricky in spots. As Fargo, Moorhead here, where I am broadcasting from, I had a 3-inch report. We've got 4 inches to 2 inches in and around the Fargo area. Not so bad here. More snow is coming to Watertown, to South Dakota, to areas just north and west of Sioux Falls. And we're already measuring snowfall amounts there between 6 inches and a foot. All right, that's a look at your snow reports across the nation. We've looked at the power outages. I'll look for some questions here before we sign off, but get ready for the risk for severe weather in the deep south tonight. We're talking Louisiana, Mississippi, Jackson, Mississippi, all the way down into New Orleans, and Arkansas will be impacted by strong storms as well. Flooding, rain potential is definitely a possibility for many of you as we head into the next 24 hours. Turning off the power supply map behind me, but we can kind of take a peek at what we're seeing with regards to the radar and what we're expecting. Wintry weather in the north is returning now, and we do have the storm development expected here in the next 2 hours at the latest. A strong storm development on the Texas-Louisiana line and Arkansas as well, western Arkansas, and these will slide easterly tonight. Tomorrow, there'll be a risk of severe weather, as I showed you briefly. That will be one pocket up north, Indiana, not far from Chicago. There'll be a batch of strong storms there, and there could be some more in the deep south. The risk is a little lower tomorrow for the tornadoes, but tonight we have what the Weather Service is saying is a significant risk of severe weather. Stay safe. Stay informed. If storms approach your area in the deep south tonight, know that they could be severe quickly. Don't travel if you don't need to in portions of Minnesota, Nebraska, as well as our neighbors to the south in South Dakota, and even, look at this, some snow showers in west portions of Oklahoma and North Texas once again. When will the snow return to the Fargo area today, and how much did Detroit Lakes get? I've gotten some measurements in and around Detroit Lakes. Let me go through my notes there. The Detroit Lakes area, Frazee picking up 3 inches. There was a little bit more in the Detroit Lakes area, but I don't have the measurement written down on my notes in front of me. That's what's on the ground so far, 3 to 6 inches in the area. I did get a report in the Wadena area of upwards of 6 to 7 inches already. And another 7 to 15 inches is expected as we go between now and Wednesday morning. That's a look at your forecast. I'm meteorologist Hutch Johnson. Go ahead and pound that like button. It really does help me out an awful lot. If you'd love to subscribe here, you'll get notifications. If you hit the dingle bell next to the subscription button, that turns on your notifications so you can be alerted of future videos. And check out some of my other videos here. I've been talking about this line of storms and the severe weather potential since last week, as a big-time storm has rolled out of Colorado and is impacting the nation today. Thank you for all your hearts. I appreciate all of you, and we will talk again very soon. Check out my Facebook page. Look up Hutch Johnson, Chief Meteorologist. You'll definitely find me there. Have a